Number 10. The droids we're looking for. Whether you're a Star Wars fan or not, odds are you're able to recognize this iconic robotic duo. But we bet you probably didn't notice them in Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you look carefully at the hieroglyphs by Indy's left shoulder during one of the scenes in the movie, you'll be able to see C-3PO and R2-D2 near the top. Maybe Han and Indy have more in common than just the actor who plays them. As if it wasn't referenced enough, you can also find R2-D2 in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies. Both films have a quick flash of our favorite little robot floating around in space or just sitting casually in the background. Number 9. Toy Story and The Shining. Rather surprisingly, Pixar's Toy Story 3 is positively shining with references. Well, why would a children's film be chock full of throwbacks to a classic 80s horror film? Well, as it turns out, the famous movie was a personal favorite of Toy Story directors Lee Unkrich, who runs a Tumblr fan page devoted to it. So what horrors are found within these seemingly innocent animated frames? Let's take a look. In 2 different scenes, the iconic pattern depicted on the Overlook Hotel's flooring is used on both the carpet in Sid's house and the tissue box resting next to Johnny Chimp as he watches over the prisoners. A harder one to spot is the continual usage of the number 237. In The Shining, Jack's son Danny is instructed never to enter the hotel room of this number, where Jack later encounters a dead woman's ghost. In Toy Story, Woody and Company's escape is interrupted by an online message from a Velocistar 237, one of Trixie's prehistoric pals. The garbage truck in the movie also bears the plate RM237, clearly short for room 237. And if this isn't enough for you, the Sunnyside Daycare's security camera read Overlook H237. Talk about making your point. Number 8. Harry Kelvin. In Star Wars The Force Awakens, while protagonist Rey is describing the surroundings to BB-8, she warns the droid to stay off Kelvin Ridge. Far from being a reference to the temperature, this particular Easter egg is a legacy of sorts found in nearly every movie throughout J.J. Abrams' career. From Lost to Mission Impossible 3, Abrams has attempted to squeeze the name Kelvin into every single one of his movies as a homage to his beloved grandfather. In the popular show Lost, Kelvin Joe Inman, played by Clancy Brown, is a member of the Dharma Initiative. Mission Impossible 3 gives us the postcard sent to Ethan Hunt, addressed to H. Kelvin. Don't think we forgot about Star Trek, in which Captain Kirk serves aboard the USS Kelvin, which, to top it off, is blazoned with the registry number NCC0514, a reference to his grandfather's birthday. Number 7. X Marks the Dead. The film The Departed is notorious for killing off nearly all of its characters by the end of the movie. What you may not have seen is the mysterious sign indicating when someone's ultimate demise is at hand. If you rewatch it, pay close attention to the character's surroundings before each death. You'll notice an X somewhere within the frame. For example, when Captain Queenum is thrown off the rooftop by Frank Costello's men, all of the window panes have X's through them. In the elevator scene, just moments before Billy Costigan is killed, there's a black X made of tape on the wall behind him. And when Colin is ambushed by Sergeant Diggum at the end of the film, the carpet on the floor of his apartment has an X motive. In fact, the only major character not marked this way is Sergeant Dignam, and he is the only character to survive until the end of the movie. The Departed isn't the only film to employ this Easter egg. 1932's Scarface also featured a large X within the frame of almost every single character's death. Number 6. Nick Fury's gravestone. You have to be paying attention, because this next Easter egg is only on screen for a second. In Captain America the Winter Soldier, after Nick Fury's supposed death, there's a quick shot showing his gravestone. On it, there's an inscription that reads, "The path of the righteous man." Ezekiel 25:17. Far from merely a religious quote, what you may not know is that this is the opening line to a famous monologue by a character who was played by Samuel L. Jackson, Jules Winfield, from Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. When the film directors were asked about the egg, they replied, "We're geeks and we love that kind of stuff. It's better to put something in there that's a wink and a smile than something bland, you know?" Number 5. Red Apple cigarettes. From Oceanic Airlines to the 555 phone directory reserved for the entertainment industry, many directors and writers invent their own brands for their own movies. One of the most well-known movie brands is Red Apple cigarettes, which are depicted throughout several of Quentin Tarantino's films. Originally used in Pulp Fiction, the brand caught on and continued to see use in a number of other movies, and with several different logos. Here are just a few of the instances where the Fictional label appear. Here's Uma Thurman walking by a giant advertisement for them in Kill Bill. The bellhop, Ted from 4 Rooms, smokes them. In Grindhouse, Ray is tossed a pack by the barbecue's owner. In contrast, the Fruit Brute and Kaboom cereals depicted in several of his other movies were once real brands. Number 4. The Pixar Theory. Since as long as we can remember, the Pixar films have been absolutely filled with references to each other. Until recently, everyone believed that this was just for fun, and not much was thought of it until one man, John Negroni, wrote an article that he called the Pixar Theory. In short, the Pixar Theory is the idea that all the films made by the studio take place in the same universe, and it explains all the connections between them. There's mad experiments, global scale revolutions of both animal and machine, and a fair bit of time travel involved. It is far too long to explain in detail in this video, but you might give it a read if you're interested in the topic. It's even made it to a physical publication. Number 3. Weaseltown. For those of you who have seen Frozen, so pretty much everyone, remember the Duke of Weselton? The old guy who was always complaining that people always pronounce his country as Weaseltown? Well, he bears a striking resemblance to a certain rodent from Zootopia, Duke Weaselton. Who gets annoyed when everyone keeps pronouncing his name as Weselton? Coincidence? I think not. Both characters are even voiced by the same actor, and we bet Alan Tudyk was more than a little amused when he was told the name of his next Weasley part. Number 2. Fight Club. Everyone knows not to talk about this next movie on our list, but buckle up, cause we're about to break the first rule of Fight Club. There are 2 really interesting Easter eggs in this 1990s classic, and both are difficult to notice unless you have a keen eye and a pause button. First, immediately after the standard FBI warning you always get, the screen briefly changes to another warning, this time from Tyler Durden himself. We won't read you the whole thing here, but it basically tells the viewer to go out and live a real life, with real experiences, instead of wasting your time on pointless nonsense. The second thing worth noting is that in every single shot of the film, a Starbucks cup is visible somewhere on set. From being the generic litter covering the floor of each scene, to actually just sitting on a table. This is actually an intentional satire on the influence of corporations. To quote the film, when deep space exploration ramps up, it'll be the corporations that name everything. The IBM Stellar Sphere, the Microsoft Galaxy, and Planet Starbucks. Number 1. The first actual Easter egg hunt. Ever wonder where the term Easter egg actually came from? Well, no one is 100% sure, but it's suspected that the term was coined on the set of the Rocky Horror Picture in 1975. Go back and watch this classic again, and inspect the sets of each shot carefully. You're bound to find some odd oval-shaped things hidden in various locations on set. This is because the cast had an actual Easter egg hunt while filming, and the eggs that they didn't find made it into the movie.